Hello and welcome. Well, what I want to talk about today is how to build the power of your listening comprehension. It also has a lot to do with creating a new habit. You see, habits determine everything. Good habits, bad habits, physical habits, mental habits, they are the things that you have created in the course of your life. And at the same time, they are the things that create your life towards the future. But anyway, let's talk about those habits later. Now, I'd like to talk about some specific methods to improve your listening comprehension and speaking ability as well. If your goal is to achieve a certain score in the TOEIC, then I think you'd better do this exercise. So, first of all, let's talk about how we think and act in our daily lives. Take a look at this. See? Input, elaboration, and output. What do you think it means? This is the cognitive model that explains how people react to the external stimuli. Every human mental activity takes this form: input, elaboration, and output. By the way, this is not my invention, of course. It's something that I found in one of the books written by Professor Ruben Feuerstein, a famous psychologist. Now, what does this input phase mean? Well, you are exposed to all kinds of stimuli in your daily life using the five senses or perhaps the sixth sense as well. This is a phase in which you receive information. Then you will move on to the next phase in which you elaborate it and think about it and evaluate it. Then, according to the decision that you have made in the elaboration stage, you may or may not go on to the output phase. It may sound quite theoretical, I'm afraid, so let me use an example. Hey, Nyana, how are you? Hi, Kyo. I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Good, good. Well, there's something that I want to ask you. What's that? Is Leo Tolstoy still alive? I don't think so. Now, in this case, the input function worked nicely because when the moron asked me if the Russian writer who lived in the 19th century was still alive or not, I understand what he was asking me and was able to respond properly. Now, let's look at the next case. Hey, Kyo, how are you? Hi, Nyana. I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Good, good. Well, there's something that I want to ask you. What's that? Est-ce que tu aimes la cuisine japonaise? What? Now, he didn't understand what I asked because I was speaking in a language that he didn't know. In other words, there was a dysfunction in the input phase. If someone is performing poorly in, say, the TOEIC test, it means his or her ability in the input phase should be reinforced. The question is how. To understand the language, you need to 1. Build your vocabulary, 2. Get used to the characteristics and sound of the language, and 3. Use it yourself. What I'm talking about here is a common sense. Everybody knows that. But let's think how we can constantly do these things in our everyday lives. Here is the way to enhance your comprehension ability dramatically, and it only takes 5 minutes a day or so. If you go to a large bookstore, you can find some English novels or screenplays with a CD. Let's use one of them as a textbook. Okay, this is one of the Penguin Readers series, Notting Hill, the novelized version of a hit movie. Have you seen this film? It was one of my favorite ones. Now, this book comes with a CD. The English that is used in this book is rather easy. Look here, it says, Level 3, 1,200 headwords, pre-intermediate. If you want to start with an easier one, you may want to find a book that comes under the category of level 4 or 5 or 6, but anyway, let's take up this one as an example. The CD contains 20 or more tracks with the length of each track being just 1 minute or 2. For example, the first track of the CD covers from the top of the page 1 to the 8th line of the page, next page. It's quite brief. Now, what I want to suggest is that you read this part that is covered by the first track of the CD. When you first read it carefully. When you encounter a new word or phrase, look it up in the dictionary. Read the text until you completely understand what is written there. Perhaps you can see the movie beforehand so that you can visualize the scene when you read a book. Now, when you understand the assigned part fully and completely, start listening to the CD. But don't listen to everything. Just listen to the track that covers the part you have elaborated. When you listen to the track for the first time, you better read the text while listening to the soundtrack. Now, listen to that part of the CD at least 4 times a day, twice in the morning and twice in the evening. Then continue it for a week. Then you will be listening to the same part about 30 times. I'm sure towards the end of the first week, you will be able to visualize the thing clearly by listening to the CD without looking at the text. Listen to it over and over and do that at least 30 times. If you can't finish it in a week, do that for 2 weeks. If you can't finish it in 2 weeks, then continue it until the 3rd week. When you have done 30 times, then you can go on to the next track. Read the part where the next soundtrack is covering. Look up new words in a dictionary and try to understand what is written. Then start listening to the track again 30 times. The important thing is to continue. Don't worry, you don't have to give up anything because it only takes a couple of minutes to listen to one track. And from the 26th time on, try to repeat what you have listened to simultaneously. This method is called shadowing. This Notting Hill is a very exciting story written by a genius playwright, Richard Curtis. You definitely want to know what will be happening next as you continue doing this. See, this is the power of a habit. It will become part of your life by the end of the 3rd week. It is said that if you continue doing one thing for 21 days, it will become your habit. So do that. The book doesn't cost that much. It's a very inexpensive way to invest in your life.